24th, 2025 for Weddington. We have a quorum. Everybody's here. Conflict of interest statement in accordance to state law is the duty of every board member to avoid conflicts of interest. Any board have any known conflict of interest with respect to any matter on the agenda. If so, please identify the conflict and refrain from participation in the matter involved. Okay, to my right, Chris?
No.
Nancy?
No.
Amanda?
No conflict.
Rusty?
No.
Manish?
Nope.
Bill?
No.
Nor do I. Thank you. Number 4 is the approval of the minutes. So we have 2 to approve tonight. We have the January 16th special meeting and we have the January 27th regular meeting.
Motion to move January 16th meeting.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Approval of the 27th regular planning board meeting. Do I have any motions or comments?
I have a comment, sir.
Okay.
On, see, it's page 3 of 4. It refers to you as Vice Chair Manning.
Karen. All right.
And, okay, and I don't know if I can amend them or not.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's what we're here for.
okay, but you put it in there accurately. I didn't speak accurately.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. When I was in comments, I said that I was embarrassed that we had to do a forestry or the tree save program. I'm really ashamed, it's not embarrassed, but I was ashamed that we have to do that we don't have environmentally responsible developers. So in this day and age, we shouldn't have to
So you want embarrassed to be swapped for shame.
ashamed. Yeah.
All right. Do I have a motion as amended?
Motion to approve January 27th planning board regular meeting minutes as amended.
I have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. All right. Number 5, Deb. Any public comments tonight? Individuals are allowed 3 minutes to speak, must only comment on the current agenda items. Maximum 30 minutes is allocated for the public comment period. It can be extended as the discretion. The only one signed up tonight is Chad.
Good evening, Chad Amrine. I live in Arrow Plantation. I just had a couple comments on the Ennis Road project. First, there's a couple missing items per our UDO. The community meeting report, the notice is in there in the sign-up sheet, but the actual report's missing from it. And then the conceptual house placement on the lots, I don't really see that. And then the conditional sewer approval of what's the status on the sewer from Union County and their sketch plan review and the modeling. And then the other question I have is just on the preliminary stormwater management plan. It mentions the existing pond to handle the runoff from the existing lots. It's not mentioned in the packet, but it's next to Lock Haven, and excess runoff could negatively impact them. So just ensuring that pond can handle the additional lots and their runoff. Overall, this is a great project, and the feedback at the community meeting was very positive. It was like a year ago, but it was pretty strong response in the positive for that project. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. That closes the public comment section. Number 6 is new business. So our first agenda item A is discussion and recommendation of CZ amendment from Providence Land. Is it Providence? Provident Land for an amendment to the CZ 2023-02 for stormwater requirements changes. And I'll turn this over to Greg.
Thank you, Chairman Manning, members of the board. So this is a request to amend, technically it's conditional zoning approval placed in 2023, ordinance CZ 2023-02, amending its previous recommendation, which met all standards and regulations for that time in 2023, to remove reference to our stormwater requirements. So this is effectively a type of variance where they're saying they're now unable to comply with a specific regulation in our UDO. That regulation is in section 58543-B-1 in our 8. So basically our stormwater regulations. This is a statement that says, quote, all non-residential development and all major residential development creating more than 20,000 square feet of impervious surface area shall provide stormwater detention to control the peak stormwater runoff from the 2, 10, 25, 50, and 100-year 24-hour storm events to pre-development rates. So this is something that we amended even last year to remain consistent with both residential and non-residential or commercial developments, to say that everything needs to meet the 100-year storm. In other words, if there's a 1 in 100 event, the worst storm of the century, that development needs to be able to keep the impact of that stormwater on site. So this was approved as CZ 2023-02. This is the Beckingham subdivision. This is a 38 lot traditional conventional subdivision located near Lock Haven. That was again approved by this board and the town council in 2023. And this is a unique request. So I think the applicant can speak better to some of the conditions that they're seeking. From a strictly zoning standpoint, their previous approval met all UDO requirements. Now they're saying they can't meet one UDO requirement and are requesting to vary from our standard of 100-year and in turn replace it with what the state considers low impact development, or LID. The impetus behind this change is that if they were to develop and meet our 100-year stormwater requirement, they're going to need 2 to 3 BMPs or stormwater ponds, which would not fit with the kind of custom lot home development, forced backyards, environmental friendly product that they're trying to sell. The 100-year storm requirement is a good standard to make sure that projects don't impact their neighbors and they keep everything on site. Staff is not in favor of waiving rules arbitrarily, certainly not in regards to stormwater and things that could impact your neighbors. So from a presentation standpoint, the burden falls on the applicant to say why they need to vary from this standard. But they are clear in that there is an alternative method that they'd like to choose. And by choosing this method, you do have to go through the conditional zoning process over again. Staff also found that this is the only change they're making to their plan. It's still 38 lots. They're still laid out exactly the same. The roads are laid out exactly the same. They're just simply requesting variance from one code requirement. So while this would be approved by the planning board and the town council, the sole item up for consideration tonight is, do they have to meet the 100-year stormwater requirement? Why or why not? This is not to say that we're going to invalidate the previous approval or question the merits of the previous 38 lots that have been previously approved by town council. With that, I'd leave that to the applicant to give their presentation and to explain the rationale for this request. But I'm available for any questions or comments you may have.
Thank you.
Greg, can I ask one question? I just want to clarify that the regulation was in place in 23 when the original proposal was approved. So it's not we didn't go back and change it and make it retroactive, messing it up. It was there at the beginning.
Correct. So it's specifically in, I think it was Exhibit B in the conditional zoning approval. There's a statement that's included in your packet that says they'll meet all current regulations of that time. We don't even have, a final plat or construction approvals yet, so I won't speak too thoroughly about entitlements or vested rights. But they stated in their zoning approval that they meet current standards. And what the town approved last year in these 100-year stormwater items in a text amendment, that was specifically talking about the non-residential standards matching the residential standards. The residential standards had already been set prior to my term here as a planner.
All right, so this process kind of opens the applicant back up to everything, right? Not just talking about stormwater, but
The applicant would need to return to the town council to explain the merits of this change.
Right.
And they need to vote on it again.
Public hearing.
well, like obviously lot 1, lot 38 doesn't have a 100-foot buffer. Just the applicant is aware that opening this up is
So to Travis's point, it's come back through and I'll say basically start from scratch that would put them under UDO changes that have gone in, say, in the last 4 months.
Well, any conditional zoning hearing is essentially a negotiation between a developer and a town council. So they are opening themselves up to that discussion.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, just wanted to be clear, but thank you.
Mhm.
Tom?
Yes, Chairman Manning and ladies and gentlemen of the planning board, thank you for your time this evening. So we're been working on development, as you heard, for a little over a year and a half. I want to introduce Kristen. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Kristen Dillard is with Provident Land here with me, and Weston Bowles with WK Dixon, civil engineering consultant. So ever since we conceived Beckingham many years ago, it's 62 beautiful acres there on the creek. We had envisioned a very environmentally friendly, quality development to bring in large lots and have a nice common open space and do a really good job with site development, tree preservation and such. We instituted what's called the bar ditch type construction, which is more environmentally friendly. And then we also introduced the special panel block septic systems, which you all may remember. You only have to clear about half the drain fields with that special system. So we've always intended and wanted to do a low density quality development. All of our other permits have moved along very well. In fact, we're pretty much done with all permits except for this stormwater permit that I'm here to talk to you about tonight. When we talked to the state, and we've spent a lot of time with them over the phone and through some, became apparent that because of the 100-year ponds, it would force us into the state's definition, which is high density development. So high density development under the state standards is a lot more rigorous. It requires swales and a lot more basically tree destruction where some of the ponds were going to be, and a lot more storm pipe and such as that, because you're trying to get all the water on the site to 3 different ponds. So in looking at that, and let me flip through a few slides here. So is that right? Yep, looky there. That's just what I just told you. We're requesting a waiver to your stormwater ordinance to not require that. And in exchange for that, we're going to talk about a specialized, what's called a rain harvesting system that basically collects the water, puts it into an underground collection tank, and then the homeowners can use it for irrigation on their homes. Let me flip through a few more here. You know, when you define again the low dense, you try to define low density with the state, they don't require the storm detention. So this little graph before you now shows on the far right, that's the state standard for low density development, state stormwater requirement. Our site, we're blessed to only be 17.5% impervious out of our entire site, which is great. So if you're under 24% on a residential development site, you do not have to have any storm detention. So it says they're not applicable, stormwater ponds not allowed.
Tom, is it all right to ask questions during the
Yes.
presentation, or would you rather wait?
I'd rather
let's
wait
wait.
just so that I'm
Let's
sure
wait.
I'm
That's fine.
covering all the bases, and then we can come back to it, Bill. Let's see if I could read. Require vegetated stormwater conveyance, no pipes, and stream buffers are required, yes. So that's the requirement. The Weddington ordinance, as Greg described, goes up to the 100-year storm, requires the ponds. As soon as you introduce that pond, you're asking the developer to clear about 6 more acres of trees on our site to add swales, a lot of storm pipe systems, and then, of course, clear the acreage where all the storm ponds would be. So we're asking for a variance of that, a waiver of that. So what are we giving back? So because we want Beckingham to be a market, environmentally friendly community in totality, we're asking each of our builders for all 38 of our home sites to require excuse me, let me just show you this red slide shows you the 6.5 acres that would have to be cleared for the ponds and the drainage swales. You'd have to have a swale in back of all the home sites there. And then this is the site without the requirement that we talked about. Okay, so what we're offering back or wanting to do is to require all of our home builders, customers, our site, all 38 lots, to put in one of these rain collection harvesting systems. Now, this is just a real simplified drawing. It's a very simple system. All you do basically is put in our situation, I think it's about a 10,000 gallon tank in the ground. It collects the water from the structures right there by the house through its gutter or rain gutter system, goes into this cistern, and then there's an irrigation pump, if you will, there that pumps the water back out so the homeowners can use it on their lawns and trees and everything else on the site. And that basically just over time collects, distributes, and that's what it's intended to do to perpetuity. So this would be a requirement for each of our home sites, each of our builders to do, but as an extra measure of assurance that these are being complied with and understood, we're going to put it into the covenants and restrictions, homeowner association documents, so that these are properly maintained and operational for each of the home sites. So that's it as a drawing. But then I think we have a picture of, this is an actual system. You would basically go to a low point of your lot and put it within a reasonable distance of the foundation area, and that's your collection point. Most of the systems like this that custom builders put in, probably several in the Weddington area already, are much smaller. They'll put in 3,000 gallon, 4,000 gallon types of systems, because we want to collect an extra measure of stormwater. We're increasing ours to be at least 10,000 gallons system as a minimum. So that's basically it in terms of that. Of course, this is our site, but we can go back to any of these slides or talk in any more detail about any aspect of it. We're, yes, we're wanting to meet low density under the state. We do not want to be classified as high density. There's more requirements that the state would ask us to do for the high density development. It would take down all those trees, and the swales would be a real nightmare, if you will, in the backs of folks' homes. Swales between the home and the backyard across all of those different lots. And then again, it's a positive. We can make this a positive for the community, for the homeowners, in allowing them to collect rainwater and then using it for irrigation purposes. So our site is a little bit unique on its location. Probably 2/3 of the home sites naturally flow into a major floodplain. If you look where the creek is down there, all along the edge there, a great majority of our home sites naturally flow into the floodplain. And you all know by nature, and some of you all may live on 1 acre or 2 acre home sites right now that don't have any ponds on them. And your yard rain just basically hits the turf, the trees, goes into the dirt, and then some that flows off just flows naturally down. In our situation, we're fortunate that it really doesn't flow on anyone. It flows into that very wide floodplain area that you see all the way along there. So as it relates to the long-term use of the rain harvesting systems, we feel like just the natural characteristics of the property will do a really great job in letting nature handle some of the rain. So, all right. So, Bill?
Yeah, I got two questions. On the drawing where you had the actual layout of your home. So this will-
Which one?
The last one, I think, the last one, I think. Yeah, that one. So the topography, I think what you're saying is it flows to that little V. That's where the floodplain area is from a topographical standpoint.
There's several areas of the floodplain. It kind of goes between the lots, kind of off to the left.
Okay, so it's, okay.
What was this thing have a?
This is a floodplain back through here.
Okay. And that's where you're saying most of the natural flow would go?
Right, 2/3 of the site will flow back to this creek. It flows currently and in the future will flow
Okay.
back to.
And then
Isn't there a
someone,
topo map on here somewhere? Did I see that earlier? Oh, it's the other one, sorry.
someone earlier made the comment about Lock Haven. Can you tell me where Lock Haven is in relation to?
That is Lock Haven.
No,
Lock Haven's at
talking
the very low point.
Oh,
there.
down the lower right-hand corner. Is that the lake at Lock Haven?
Right in here somewhere.
Okay,
Here's Lock Haven Road.
right. So that's not the, if you go down Lock Haven Road, that's not,
We wouldn't be flowing to this pond.
Yeah.
That's what you-
okay. On the original one that was presented.
Yeah.
You were showing, I know this is all very original stuff. You were showing three, I think you called them water quality areas, but basically detention or retention ponds, right? And now as you've gotten into this in greater detail, you're finding it out that with the 100-year stormwater runoff, these three detention ponds can't handle it. Am I correct?
No, it's not really it's not really that. The fact that a pond has been introduced to our site as a stormwater requirement, whatever size, doesn't make any difference what size it is, that triggers the high density ordinance and development standard for the state. And we've always intended to be low impact, low density. We don't want to be the high density. That's why we're just at 17.5% impervious on our whole site. But if you put in any one of the three ponds, it triggers the state's review to say you are high density. Therefore, you have to put in swales and storm pipe and a whole bunch of other things to be sure that your site water is coming to that.
To these,
So that's right.
these three locations.
Right.
And now I think what you're saying is to try and get in low density, we wouldn't put in these.
Right.
And your red descriptors there are basically where these ponds were originally planned,
Plus the swales.
plus
that,
the swales. And so one of the big drivers of this, and maybe I misunderstood, I'm not a technical guy. One of the big drivers is this cannot meet the current ordinance of 100-year storm.
Yeah.
So some of what's happened, and we've done some other, my engineering firm's done some other projects here in Weddington. And sorry, can you hear me? We've done some other projects here in Weddington, and the state has changed the way they view the stormwater. They say if you concentrate flow into these ponds that you can't develop or can't permit these projects under their low density option now, which in turn makes you, what they want you to do is get every bit of impervious on all the site has to go to the pond, which introduces even a higher level of where we have to pipe every little small bit of impervious you have on the site to ponds, which is a monumental task with a site this challenged by topography.
So they're now saying there can be no stormwater runoff from this parcel at all versus
No,
it
no.
cannot exceed what was there before development.
No, so what they're saying is if you develop it with no ponds and keep minimum storm drainage, the impervious area is fine to be low density. When you put a pond and additional storm drainage on there, you have to do high density permitting, which in turn makes it very challenging to get all the impervious area to ponds.
It just, all right, so, and again, I'm gonna ask a couple questions. I'm gonna turn it over to some other experts here.
You're doing great.
Is, is basically you're saying you can, what you're asking for is a reduction from the 100-year stormwater ordinance.
Yes.
Am I correct?
From that high standard, the 100-year storm ponds. But if it was a 10-year storm pond, it would still be a request. It's the same request if you introduce any pond on the site.
Yeah.
It forces us into the high density definition at the state. And that's why we're bringing these rain harvesting things in. I guess it's voluntarily, but it's also to mitigate what we're asking for, because we're asking that the 100-year storm ponds go away and we can save all those trees, which will help with the environment. But we're also saying if you would allow that, then we're going to require each of our home sites to have these water harvesting systems, which will collect, if it's 10,000 gallons, there's about 42 of, it's 500,000 gallons of stormwater would be collected.
I mean, I think it's great to try and save any trees. I don't know if you've been tuned in. We've been doing a lot of stuff on trees lately. But the original plan, I know this is not locked in concrete, had those trees being taken out.
Right.
Okay. So if I go to this page, kind of compares the two.
Oh, okay.
And when it says detention requirement is not applicable, stormwater ponds not allowed. Guess what I'm asking is the Weddington Stormwater Management Plan, UDO, says we need requirement to this standard. The NCDOQ, DEQ, low density, what is the standard?
Basically, they're saying since you're such a low impervious area that you like, in their opinion, that you're not doing a negative impact to the environment.
Regardless of the storm level.
Correct.
2, 5, 10, 100, 200, 500 year, you're saying
Correct.
doesn't come into play.
Yeah.
But as I understand it, you're saying that any construction or presence of any size retention pond kicks you up to high density. And I look at this and go at the layout and I'm going, how does this qualify for high density? You know what I mean? But
We had a 2-hour heated discussion with DEQ trying to get around it. And they basically say there's no way for them to approve it as a low density.
Okay, let me go to cisterns for a
Yeah.
while here.
Sure.
I went to my most reliable source, which is just Googled a bunch of stuff. And a 10,000 gallon cistern, they can come in different shapes. Cylindrical, that'd be 12 feet in diameter and 13 feet tall. That's a big tank underground. Or it could be 30 feet long, 9 feet wide, 9 feet tall. So what you're saying is each home would have some version of this. And any calculations I could find as relating to the capacity, I'll say required of a cistern. And again, this is just Google search.
Yeah.
They base it on the square footage of roof area. the average annual rainfall, and then there's a calculation said, this is how many gallons a month that would take care of. We've also got impermeable surface on driveways and roads and everything else. So, and maybe this is eventually going to come to our town engineers. How is all this put together to me, capturing the rainwater off your roof is just a portion of this. And how does this factor in roads, driveways, which are other impermeable surfaces in terms of managing the stormwater runoff? And my question would be, stormwater runoff to what level? And again,
But don't they know the square footage of the driveway? And
well,
And the
that's,
Yeah, may I get, so,
please,
I mean, are you sheet draining the streets and the driveways?
Yes.
Okay.
It would go to roadside ditch.
All right, and the cisterns, how do they factor in when you compare that to a 100-year floodplain flood event, given the amount of water you're collecting with the cisterns? How does that factor in?
So compare the 100-year to this.
So what we were proposing is basically to capture by roof, just the roof drains, the 1-year storm. And that is not a comparison directly. A 1-year storm is not 100 times less than a 100-year storm. I don't have in front of me the direct calculations, but at this moment, I have to a little bit more than that.
when you say impervious area is, I think you said 17%.
Right, 17.5% right now.
Okay, so that's including sidewalks, streets.
That's the driveways,
driveways,
sidewalks,
Total.
and the roof, all the roof of the home, which would include the garage, the
Right,
carports,
So impervious. All right,
screen porch and all that.
so let's talk.
So
Let's talk.
The bottom line,
Yeah, go
Bill and Mr. Setzer, is that it will not meet the 100-year detention. We can't do that much. But if we can get close to half of that with this measure that we're talking about and save the trees and do a much better environmental job for the community that's better for the customer, for the community member, that's what we're trying to accomplish.
Are you,
So
are you-
we could have come in and said, 5,000 gallon tank, but no, we wanted to make it larger so that we are having a significant impact against.
when you said you could not achieve the 100-year, Tom, are you referring to Weddington's requirements or the low density requirements also?
What did I say? 100-year what?
Said you couldn't achieve the 100-year.
Oh, with the rain garden, with the rain harvesting, you can't get to that.
So you can't get to it either way.
You can't get equal to the 100-year detention volume. So what,
because you can't capture what's on the driveway and get it into the cistern.
right, we can't get all that into the
It won't,
pond.
you can't capture it.
So
So second, to follow-up question of that, what happens when the cistern is full? And I'm looking at your diagram there, it looks like you're trying to have your overflow subgrade.
when it wouldn't be subgrade, but yes, there's outflow, just like any system. If it gets to capacity and has to discharge, it would go out the top of it and would leave the 10,000 gallons in tank.
And then that in turn is going to be surplus draining into the stream. And if I'm looking at that, that's going to probably be at a pretty high velocity coming out of there.
We would not want to point discharge it where it's detrimental. So we would probably put some kind of a level spreader filtering system as a requirement to let it dissipate into the nature.
So regarding cisterns, you said there'd be maintenance on it to some degree. I don't know what that is, but is that maintenance that we anticipate the homeowner doing, or is it be like some engineered septic systems where you have to have someone come in and perform that maintenance?
Yeah, my intention would be the homeowner would actually be responsible for the maintenance. But as a backup, we would have the homeowner association and the covenants and restrictions require some kind of a regular inspection or just to be sure that the systems are functioning.
And my last question is, what would a failure mode look like? How would failure mode manifest itself?
So, since the actual 10,000 gallon cistern and the gutter system is pretty much manual, not mechanical, it would just fill and overflow. If the irrigation pump's not taking it out and irrigating with it, the cistern would just get filled and discharge, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, so that's gonna have, depending upon where that discharge, so you're looking at your plans now. You're talking about doing a block septic system.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
And then you're talking about a sizable excavation. And all of this is gonna be in the rear yard, I would take it.
It'd be at the low point corner of the home. Some of the homes are kind of high and drain to the street. Some of the homes are a little bit lower and drain to the backyard. But you'd want this system on the low point, collection point of the home.
You feed to the cistern.
Right.
Gravity feed to the system, but you're also gonna gravity feed to the septic system.
Yes.
So you're gonna have some of these in the backyard
Or close to each
along with your septic system.
Yeah. So that, and Travis, just to clarify that. So, the septic systems on these homes are designed in a certain section in the backs of the homes, back fairly removed from the home itself. So it's not like this system, which is at the corner of the home site, would directly discharge into the drain field of the septic system, if that's what you're suggesting.
I thought that it was a planned discharge, like for irrigation and stuff. I mean, in my mind, I look at this as a sophisticated rain barrel.
Yeah.
You remember how those got to be really popular, especially
That's what it is.
in the dry areas of the country, collecting it and then using it to water your gardens and stuff. So
Right.
this is just an underground one, which looks a lot better than the one sitting out by your garage. And so that water, think about when we were settling the West. I mean, everyone out West has cisterns because they had to have water.
Well, they have a lot of these in Arizona.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have family there. So, I mean, it was an absolute necessity there. But here we have adapted it for our, to be more environmentally friendly and to collect the water and use it. I know people that out West that use it to water their animals, and not just their yards. So, it seems like the concept is good.
Yeah, this was just-
If we
If
can,
this was just a rain barrel this big and so forth that my downspout fills up and I use it to water the gardens or this and that, but we're talking, I'm sure you tried to build an extra capacity here, 10,000 gallons. And if the resident is not using it, okay, eventually everything's going to go through your overflow out into the, like an engineered septic system. It actually knows what the soil can absorb.
sure,
It times it, the amount, the length of time, and this and that. This is a holding tank to capture rain.
Yeah.
And
I'm not a
I'm gonna
landscaper,
stop
so I
asking-
have no idea
Yeah,
how
I
much
know.
water you have to irrigate X amount of.
yeah, I
grass.
mean,
I don't-
I know probably the biggest, if not the biggest problem we have with every development is stormwater runoff and sediment control. And so I don't know, I mean.
Can I clarify
I'm
one
talking
thing?
Too much. I'll let some of the other people here talk.
Let me clarify one thing. So this would be the irrigation system that the homeowners would use to irrigate their homes. It's not like you turn on this special irrigation system and then you turn it off and go to another irrigation system. This is the homeowner's irrigation system for their home. And most of these high dollar homes will have nice irrigation systems and with intention want to have green grass and such as that. So I've consulted with several folks that do this. Designia comes to mind, but there's several landscape groups that do this. A certain amount of gallons per head of an irrigation system. And so the 10,000 gallon cistern would be designed to handle a number of zones, if you will, of those heads. The systems would be designed so that it would, if it gets down too low, it triggers the homeowner's potable water to fill the cistern for irrigation purposes. So that's if you get into a drought or something like that. But don't be misled that this is only for the homeowner to use to water the garden and such. No, this is their irrigation system for their whole property.
So in, let's say, June, July, August, that's when we really need irrigation.
Yeah.
Because those are the hottest, driest months.
Noted.
So I'm assuming then that's where the county water system will
Yes.
fill up that cistern.
Exactly.
Now in November, December, November, I think, is the wettest month here in Charlotte area. You're not going to be using that. And so then you would then get to, I'll call it the failure mode, which is the runoff. It just comes out onto the property.
Now, these systems are designed to distribute water even in the non-essential times in order to put the water back out into nature. You may not be watering the grass in December, but this system is designed to dispense the water into nature on a regular basis.
When it naturally overflows, or will you have like?
Well, you were
a time
implying that they
pumping
wouldn't
out
be
of that?
using it in the winter. I'm saying this would be functioning 12 months a year.
It might be functioning, but it's not going to work like it is in June or July versus December, January is what he's saying.
Right.
And there's going to be a
It
lot more
wouldn't function
water.
the same.
There's going to be a lot more water going into that stream.
Right.
Chris, I want you to speak up on this, but I have a couple quick questions before maybe hopefully jogging some of your questions. If you did have to put those 3 ponds in, how much dirt would that generate, and how would you use that on site?
How much dirt would it generate and how would you use it on site?
Yes.
It would just be part of the creation of the dam structure for the detention ponds. You basically excavate and build a dam, I think.
Sure.
So-
I do that for a living, so I know what I'm talking about, but that's going to be a lot bigger than just a dam. You're going to have a lot of excess dirt. And your quote ditch lines, are you trying to say that those would have to be ditches, or did you look into doing any type of rear yard storm drain?
So you can do it by, so all the red that you see on. So all the red, like linear lines that you see on this, so it can be, some of it's ditches, some of it is storm drainage. The complex thing with this is once we put in these ditches across these properties, and where you can see the actual difference between this plan and this plan is that we have to, we're trying to get everything to the pond. We have to get every bit of the impervious area there. And it's actually creating all these no build zones on all these lots. That basically you have a ditch or a pipe in your backyard that you can't build or put a pool in or anything like that in the future because there's going to be a stormwater conveyance structure or something there. So when you go to doing more of the natural sheet flow off into the streams, you don't have all those. So we can actually bring the site in more condensed and not have all those storm pipes or ditches. And the complex thing is that you can see there's some properties here that don't have as many ditches, and what DEQ is going to make us do is probably even put more ditches on those properties as well, because we got to get all the impervious area to somewhere. So that this is probably best case, depending on how we can convince DEQ what we're trying to do.
Where is this system in place and functioning right now in central North Carolina?
The cistern system.
Yes. It's on a subdivision basis, not an individual basis, on a subdivision basis.
So I know they use them in the city of Charlotte to get around the low density requirements. I can't say it's on a 30 acre or 30 lot subdivision, but I know that they have used it on quite a few. Homes.
On individual homes.
And when you say you can't make the 100-year, is it because of the square footage of the pond? You can't dig but so deep, you can't make it so large, you can't get it there with sand filters? What exactly is the constraint?
So it's not the 100-year, like what you see here. It's what DEQ's requiring us.
What are
DEQ,
they requiring?
they're saying every bit of impervious area on the site has to go to the pond. You can't have any impervious area. So the challenge is where these ponds are, you have some of these home sites are below vertically where the pond's at. And to get that house back to one of the ponds is very challenging.
So the only high density requirement is capturing all impervious and directing it to the.
Correct.
This is a perfect example of a planning board where they bring a concept, we approve a concept, and we let our ordinance let them go back and try to math the math at a later date. And here we are with the math that doesn't make it. And my concern again would be that we're going to set a precedent with another one that's following up that's going to come in. Again, low density and use an existing pond to harbor their 100-year and all the storm detentions if they can't. So we're back getting it. You said 17.5% impervious.
Right.
You would lock that in today? So there would be no more than 17.5 with all the homes, all the pools. It's de-restricted from there on out.
I don't know if we can do it.
I mean,
Do it.
It's close.
yeah, I mean, you're
What is 17.5% right now in square footage out of curiosity?
on the whole subdivision.
Yep.
62 total acres.
Times 17%. Well,
The state standard is 24%, and so we're at 17.5 on our side.
I should just do 20, it's easier math.
Around 20, 10 acre.
I'm coming up with 458,000
Spread across
square feet.
38 lots
Mm.
and roads and pools, patios. Because the loose term is if they stay low, 4% technically to stay under the state. But this is, again, we've been striving to get a stronger standard. And here it is. And this is kind of the catch-all of coming back. Again, a cistern, and again, I'm sorry, apologize, but it's kind of the red herring here. It does nothing but say we're going to catch some rooftop water at each house, but it doesn't really do anything for these so-called storms that will go into that system, creek system, that will impact downstream. So to Labella's point on their little email, at the very least, before I would say we would entertain anything, would be that downstream impact analysis. And let's see what the flood study looks like too. I mean, because it's easy to say we're going to stay low density, keep the trees, but I don't know that I want to say it's worth saving trees to flood my neighbor.
Yeah.
When we're again, it's a good trade-off, and I would love to have the trees and love for this to work, but I think Weddington's been working hard to kind of set the standard and kind of set the tone for good quality development. And now we would be relinquishing and wavering our storm system because it doesn't apply or meet up with the state. So now we're stuck. Every time somebody can't do Weddington because it doesn't meet the state, we're in the same kind of catch-22 back and forth here.
So on the original approach, you thought you could make work with 3 detention ponds. Now you've got it in the nuts and bolts. It doesn't work. It doesn't work for a 100-year storm.
It
I don't
does.
think they're saying it doesn't.
It does work. Only
What
thing
it
they don't-
says is
they don't want
that
to
they got to
change
catch all the impervious.
Yes.
That is a challenge now to meet our ordinance, to be able to catch all of them with these 3 ponds. They're vertically challenged, topographically challenged. Now you're grading. That grading impact's going to probably go more into woods than
Right.
than we're looking at here when
Yeah.
they're trying to sell a wooded lot for aesthetic. So again, it's just we meet up with concept and math that,
I mean, like I said,
Basically, we had the whole site plan design meeting the 100 year. It's the state that's putting us in the predicament.
So how we do like Greg, like all this development we have approved, all of them with 100 storm waters, it means all are high density?
Yeah, effectively, if you're gonna have an 100-year storm event capture, you're gonna need some kind of BMP
Right.
to keep it on site.
So every site is a high density. So why
when
this
the
is,
state says high density, they want all the impervious caught
right? So
and
they're doing
accounted
it.
for.
So all are doing it. So what's so special about this one then?
so Chris, are they?
Well, a
saying-
lot of places do low density. What they're doing is not out of the ordinary. What I'm saying is they came with a concept from a planning experience, and now our ordinance, being that it's tightened up, it's hard to math it without giving grace or coming back to the table for something.
So on our, correct me here, on runoff that is pre-construction versus runoff post-construction. If you're getting this runoff pre-construction, you're still allowed, the developer is still allowed to have that amount of runoff post-construction, or are we saying no runoff
Well,
at
no, I
all?
think Weston can correct me on this. I think what the state is saying is less than 24% that runoff is really not doing anything. So they're kind of giving you the, hey, here's your free up. If you can do it under 24%, run off where you want to run off. It doesn't really affect the mathematical models of the bigger picture. Some areas in Charlotte have a different watershed basin. Instead of 24%, you might be allowed 10%, 12% around the lakes. So there is a number that they say if you stay below that, your threshold is free and clear from them. Again, it's our standard. And to LaBella's point, most municipalities don't do every single storm for detention and what we're doing. Because what's triggering us, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, is if you put over 20,000 square feet of impervious per our ordinance, now we've got all these triggers of storms that you've got to start accommodating. I would say that most places only have a few of the quick storms. And for laymen, and I could say this wrong too, but when someone says 100-year storm, I don't want you to think it happens once every 100 years. The summertime afternoon thunderstorm is a 100-year storm in 20 minutes. That flash flooding is a real thing. So if you were to ride out to these creeks in a big event, you would see what they look like in a normal stance. Then you add impervious and quicker sheet flow to his point, it would swell it up. It's got to go somewhere. So if it can't go fast enough, it swells up. So that would be what I'm more worried about with our neighbors and residents is if we're not collecting and detaining and we're just going to let this go. For one, if he says he would lock in at 17.5% for the neighborhood, deed restricted forever, ever, amen. I mean, I'd be open to, then instead it can't get scope creep and we're at 23.9% with all the stuff and it looks different.
So if I come and put it in a pool, or I expand my patio, or something. to
Put a
that
shed
effect,
on the property.
Yeah,
Well, the pool's going to catch it.
The
I mean,
pool, the water surface won't, but the pool lipping and everything around the pool counts against your impervious.
And there's one thing I brought up a while ago too. I think Bill or Travis brought it up. But
Yeah.
when you're looking at this thing, when you talk about running this in from November to the end of February, you're running a sprinkler system on an area that may already be saturated, and you only have you don't get any effective drying below 45 degrees. So you're going to have, you're going to, in the middle of December, January, you're going to have a backyard or a front yard.
Right.
The dog goes out and sinks. That's just
Well, I feel like 10,000 gallons is overkill for rooftop anyway, and that thing would never be full. And you probably are struggling to get irrigation out of it. Just my opinion. I do see them on individual lots, like you said in Charlotte, when you've got this same impervious problem, the same low density, high density threshold, they will add one of these to a house. And then the The difference that I think the city does is operation and maintenance agreement so that the city can go check you to make sure you're compliant, not unhooking it. And then it's regulated irrigation, but it's only there to capture a few thousand at best square footage of impervious, not 60 acres. So them doing it is a nice gesture. Do not get me wrong, but that is not the solution. That's just they'll help by making sure they're mitigating in some form on each lot, which is, again, mitigating is helpful. But their 100% issue is that they would have to collect every bit of this water, maybe even a fourth pond somewhere, depending on what your grading model says. If you've got vertically challenged.
Yeah, I mean,
Is the 17%, is that with the rooftops, or is that,
so
or are you taking out what you're collecting and moving to the cistern
So-
out of that to get to the 17%?
So the 17% is all the roadways. Majority of the lots is 10,000 square foot of impervious on the lot. Some of the smaller ones that are probably more size challenged, I think it goes down to a 6,000 or 8,000, which house would have to be smaller anyway. So I mean, it is set up for a house to have a house, a driveway, a pool. Like it's 10,000 square foot. So a lot of
Yeah, they got
impervious.
a lot of impervious.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're not trying, like, I don't want to speak for Tom here, but I mean, 17%, I mean, 17.5% seems pretty reasonable if we want to restrict it to that. I mean, when I was looking at some of the surrounding neighbors right now, neighborhoods right now, that's roughly what some of the houses, there are some ginormous ones out there that there's not going to beat that. Now that if he commits to like 17.5%, it might be where you might, one house gets 12,000, one house gets 5,000. You can move it around.
And if it all goes to ponds, there's no restriction on any lot in here, correct?
It's whatever the pond size too. So that we were sizing the ponds based off of 10,000. So I mean, in theory, you would have to prove it was more.
If
The state's
if
going
you
to
can get the
de-restrict as
ponds
well.
big enough,
Confident they can get the ponds big enough.
or a fourth pond or whatever
Yeah.
the requirements are. And even with the original intent, you thought you'd get this done with 3 ponds.
And it's still 3 ponds on per what he's showing. When I said a fourth pond, I meant if he had to grade now to get water to it, and he, by him raising something by default, creates another basin on the backside of the
Right.
house. He's got to go capture that somehow.
And what happens is when you, to your point there, is like what you would do is then raise the houses up, and then you're just doing more grading to raise these sites up, where in Tom's vision of the community, we're trying to develop these where it's a treed lot other than the roadway, and the builder comes in and selectively clears what he has to do to put the house there. So you have established trees and things like, and not do the mass grade.
And you're trying to majority use the existing topography. Just
Correct.
ditch type roads, keep the lots the way they are. They're going to come in and house by house.
We're trying to do the least amount of infrastructure needed to get to this, to have it more of that natural low density look.
Exactly.
I'm going to say, I mean, I could be swayed if I had some more information, but I would definitely, for one thing, from a planning board, think we would need to know what our downstream impacts are to the neighbors and what some kind of a flood analysis is, the ponds. And I would even throw, if you did capture rooftop impervious, but I wouldn't even worry about that. I would just see what it is if we let this go as a low density technically.
Yeah, and I think Tom's willing to commit to doing the downstream analysis. I mean, some of it is our engineering responsibility to make sure we're not flooding people. So that's some of the things we were going to have to do anyway.
I mean, I think you definitely have to do the downstream analysis.
Yeah.
I'm still a bit concerned about, I'll call it cistern maintenance and how that works. And then my last question would be, if the council say, no, we're not buying off on it, then I think what I'm hearing is this plan won't work. And it's almost start over, right?
No.
I don't. I think our biggest issue is
They have
that
to move
we have a higher standard that we're either going to waive or not waive from a us standpoint. I believe if you told them that they needed to do this, that they're going to build it and do it. I don't believe it don't work. I believe it's just,
It's not gonna
it
be
changes
as
their
nice.
concept, yeah, and their vision.
Well, that's what I
No.
mean. It wouldn't necessarily be this
Yeah.
plan.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was,
So I think you'd still have the same number of lots. You're just going to get a very different looking subdivision with a
Yeah.
lot more grading, a lot
lack
more.
of a better term, it's going to look like Luna.
Right.
So, that's
So what does the board want to do? Let's keep this meeting going.
I did have one more
Sure.
question. So is this going to trigger that they have to go back and comply with our shorter cul-de-sacs?
No, not in theory. I mean, in theory, it's
But
open to
it's-
whatever we want to say right now.
It's conditional
Yes.
zoning, so we could say no.
But I think
But
I
you
think
could
we
also
were
say-
good with the lots the way they were. I think now our issue is
Okay.
bigger than that.
I just don't.
Unless you want to talk about shortening them.
No, I don't. I was not in favor of shortening them. I'm just saying that, to your point earlier, we have our stormwater, we have our tree protection over here, and it's counter the negative effects it's having on, So you have, at some point, you have to pick. What do you, I think we all are in agreement that we absolutely don't want water running off on the neighborhood downstream. But the less grading that we can do is always, in my opinion, better. Bottom line for me.
And note taken, I agree. I feel like I would not want to bend from the standard we're trying to set now as it started to set a new tone to do it. But more information, I'm open to listening and making sure if we can show, because again, the good thing about conditional is case by case, but everybody bringing this to you
Well,
now.
actually, I would be in favor of setting a new standard. More trees, less grading. That's what we're trying to get to.
Well,
Yeah, but
with
this
our
is a
tree-
trade-off if keeping trees or flood your neighbors. So
Oh, no,
now
I
we're
didn't
in
say,
that.
no, I didn't say that. I said that,
Ideally, it's not an
Downstream.
either or, it's a both and, trying to get the balance in
Yeah,
there.
we're trying to.
But, my opinion was our major issue, I'd love to keep every tree we can. My biggest concern on, like I said, on every development is stormwater runoff and sediment control. So, I would
We all
not,
don't want Luna as far as you go
No.
in here and just,
no, I would not be opposed to having Labella look at this, come up with some recommendations.
well, I believe Weston, you would provide everything and then Labella would look it over, correct? Or do you look it over?
Both, but
Yeah, I think if we did a downstream analysis, we would probably talk with Labella to identify how far downstream we would go. And the good thing is you do have floodplain on this. We just need to make sure that we're not impacting any structures or roadways downstream or something like that. But it would be in concert with Labella. Chris.
And I lean on Greg's, advice here too. And I think his recommendation was more information at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm in favor of that for now. We just need to set what are those conditions or what are those requirements we want to see moving forward.
Yeah,
Downstream.
to clarify my staff recommendation, information has been trickling in since your packet has been submitted. For instance, this PowerPoint and the cistern examples, that's new information that wasn't included in your packet. So we understand the concept that's being presented here. Staff supports the concept of being low impact development. However, the applicant is essentially saying we don't want to meet one of your standards and we need to know what you're replacing that standard with. And as much information as possible, including Labella's recommendation of a downstream analysis is highly recommended.
So maybe we start there.
Sounds good. Anybody want to take a shot at it?
make a motion.
I'll make a motion that we follow staff's recommendation and table this until further analysis can be done. That captures pretty much it.
Downstream business.
So,
A second.
all right, do I have a second? All in favor? Unanimous? All opposed? Right, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
All right, new business B, discussion and possible recommendation of an application by Ennis Investors requesting conditional zoning approval for the development of a 9-lot subdivision located on Ennis Road. Greg?
Yep. All right. Resetting. Thank you, Chairman Council. So this is a request for a conditional zoning amendment, effectively a major subdivision request for 9 lots located on Ennis Road. There's 2 existing structures at this location, 645 Ennis Road and 653 Ennis Road. So if you make a left or right off of Providence at the southern boundary of Weddington, this is where this is located. This is from Ennis Investors One LLC requesting a 9-lot subdivision. This is on 19 acres and would provide 9 lots. So roughly 1 home for 2 acres. So very low density. And what they're effectively requesting is eliminating the existing driveway for these 2 houses, building a new private drive that would be gated to serve one of the existing homes. One existing home would be demolished and creating 8 new lots for 8 new houses in a conventional manner, meaning each lot would be greater than 1 acre or 40,000 square feet. This application was received over a year ago, prior to my tenure here with the town of Weddington, and that's when the community meeting occurred. This was held for various reasons thereafter, either switching engineering firms or working through the concept, but it's never wavered from its core concept of building a new private drive around a central lake that's located on the property. This is the site plan that's provided in your packet and submitted as part of the updated application. You can see there's 2 cul-de-sacs for these private drives, and in the manner of which our current ordinance states, even though this is effectively grandfathered in terms of cul-de-sac design, we're providing central islands and something more similar to a close rather than your standard NCDOT kind of cul-de-sac bulb. The existing house on site is located right here. This would be served by a large lot that's almost 2 acres. Your entrance is the one entrance here off of Ennis Road and your gated entryway. You have a central sanitary sewer line that is shown by this easement here that goes along the lake. The applicant has been working in conjunction with Union County Water and Sewer to access this trunk line and provide sewer access. So we speak a lot about septic systems, types of septic systems. Do they have the approval for the septic system? This is sewer. So this would connect to a central sewer line. What has held up this application to date also, which has been negotiated through Greenville County Water staff and the applicant, is access to this lot here, which you can see did not have direct access to the trunk line, the sewer line before. This is now a type of panhandle lot so that there'd be a sewer easement connecting and serving all lots. So every lot would be served by Union County Sewer, but that took some iterations to demonstrate and be provided to this board tonight. I think Chad, our public speaker for the public comment period, brought up 2 excellent points about making sure that we have an approved sewer system for this project. There's obviously going to be some time if this is recommended by this board between going to from the planning board to the town council. I think that gives the applicant, because they've already done their due diligence, time to provide additional documentation that this sewer system is adequate and can be served as demonstrated. But by having this consideration tonight, we're doing good faith efforts that they're able to proceed forward, and they know the general temperature and support of staff in the town and proceeding with their permitting through Union County. Chad also mentioned the house plotting for this project. You can see they're relative lots, but the houses are not shown on this plat. That's something that we would also recommend. You could make inferences, particularly because of this creek that runs right here, that the house site would be in the front and your rather than the back. It'd be bisected in some way. So we would like that shown, but again, this is less of an issue because this is a sewer project. We don't have to factor in where the drain field would go, where the septic field would go. Would that impact the house location? The lots are more than adequately sized to place a home in a number of creative ways. So not necessarily a general concern that would prohibit approval or recommendation of this project, but that is something that needs to be shown at a future date. With that, I mean, it's 9 homes. It's not a big subdivision. The trigger for going through conditional zoning is more than 6, so 7 or more lots. This is 9, so this is about as small of a project that it needs to be required for a conditional zoning case. If there's any questions or concerns, I'm available for comment. Also, just the last thing I would note, so this Central Lake is existing. The existing home is built around it. This lake area would now be common open space. So this would be under the ownership of maintenance collectively of everyone in the community. I think that's a preferred method so that everybody's liable for that system should anything happen or if there's any impacts of that project. It's not used as, strictly speaking, in an amenity space. There's no trails around it. There's no explicit details about how it'd be accessed, and staff did work on that. So that's maybe the only knock I would have against the project is I wish there was a better way to collectively utilize that for recreational purposes. But there are some topography challenges as well as some infrastructure located around that pond. But staff sees no reason to withhold or object to a recommendation for this particular layout, and is available for any comments or questions you have.
Thank you. Any board members that want to go first?
So this is another one, 20,000 square feet of impervious or more is going to trigger the same thing that they ran into. They'll be high density by the state. They'll have to collect all this impervious at every threshold. If you go to the topo map, it won't be just as simple as saying it's less than 24% and we don't have to do anything. He does state in their thing, the impervious is staying under 24%. They show it 23.91. Stormwater management will be provided in accordance with the town's ordinance. It's going to be low density, so it'd be over 20,000. So they're right back in the same boat.
They'll be back just like,
I mean, they'll have to they may be able to capture it all, but they will have to capture per NCDEQ if they're going to put that pond and turn that pond to hold all the storms. They're going to have to get all the water that leaves this site to that pond.
well, let me ask you this.
Are you the applicant?
I'm with the applicant. I'm his engineer. And I think I can speak to that.
Come on up and introduce yourself.
Good evening. I'm Brent Cowan, engineer with the Isaacs Group. And we were brought in after the initial meeting, I think, to show this. And we stuck with the original plan, 9 lots, basically the same lot layout and road layout. As for stormwater, so everything is draining to this existing pond. And regarding the BUA per lot, basically we backed in to how much BUA we could have on each lot to stay under that 24%. So we took off the area of the roads, and then we have an existing house that's going to remain, and so we have that existing BUA. So the proposed BUA of the roads, the existing BUA of the house that's going to remain, and then what's left over from that 24%, we spread that out over the rest of the lots because we know we want to be low density. And that will be memorialized on the plans and then deed restrictions. So we'll set that limit so we won't go over that.
But what they just said is the state, because you're gonna put more than 20,000 square feet of impervious on this property, our ordinance says you're gonna plan for those storms. And then once he said, what they just said is that
Yeah.
DEQ
That's
is saying
a
if they
good
make a pond or any pond, it goes to high density for them. Now you're gonna collect all the water.
So I hear you, but I don't think it's apples. I think this is apples and oranges. Everything is going to a pond. So everything is going to that pond, and that's where it will be treated. So we don't have lots that are draining off the site, not towards this pond. So it's going to go to the pond. We are going to size an outlet structure that's going to make sure it meets all the 2, the 10, the 25, the 50, 100 year storm event.
So that back corner's coming to the pond? Looks like the ditch is coming off the corner, going down through the wetlands and around the force main. Again, I'd just say that it's the same, I feel like, in our ordinance.
So yeah, I wouldn't, there might be some areas that are, okay, let me backtrack that a little bit. There might be an area like you just pointed to that would drain off, but that's okay. I can still show that we meet that 10 and 25 year house. I think is not going to be way back there. I think the house is going to be closer to the road. And if we have to get that water from the house into the pond, I think we can do that. And an undeveloped part of that lot would drain off and not go into the pond, and that's perfectly fine. So long as I can still mathematically show that the post-developed flows, even with some bypass, is being treated by that pond. So that happens a lot, and what we do is we over detain in the pond when we have areas that are bypassing the pond. We make sure the pond holds it back even more so that the math works, that when you add A and plus B, it's still underneath that pre-developed flow.
Are you gonna have to improve that pond in any fashion to handle that volume?
Our goal is to stay away from rebuilding the dam as much as possible, and I'm going to put off to the side to that upper right corner an outlet control box, and then a pipe's going to come out and around and down the back side of the dam so that we're not messing with that dam.
So now can I ask you a question that when you say apples and oranges, what was different about the previous project that's not applicable to this one with over 20,000 and preparing for all the storms and high density with DEQ?
We have a pond, they don't have a pond. And I'm putting, I mean, with the exception of maybe that one corner, which I think is not going to be a problem because I don't think there'll be BUA back there. I think we can get all the BUA to the pond.
When you say corner, can you point on where that is on the map for me?
Is this a laser?
Nope, this is not.
Top left.
Top left, okay.
Where it says lot 8,
Yeah,
the area probably above that label.
okay, all right.
The house is gonna be much closer to the road than way down there. I mean, shoot, the grade is so much lower than the cul-de-sac grade. That house is gonna wanna be real close to the road.
But does it have 100 feet buffer?
There is a 100-foot roadside buffer.
Is it? Okay.
It's roughly showed from here to here.
Okay.
So that's the lot that was gonna be a,
Yeah, without the
It's gotta
lot,
be a
it's very
flag
hard.
lot to get to the sewer.
yeah, and what do you call that lot? I'm having a mental fade here.
Just a flag lot or a.
Yeah, flag lot. So, all right.
But again, conceptually, it looks good for me. He's still gonna have to play by our rules. So if it is, it is. If it don't, it don't. He's gonna be able to, mathematically work it out. It is true, it does have an existing pond.
If it works,
Right.
it works. If it doesn't work,
No,
he's
but I
gonna-
think the
he's gonna
condition
be
was-
back here,
Right.
just like the
Exactly,
other group. Okay.
exactly. If you can't meet something, they gotta come back. That's where I say
Mm.
conceptual wise. I don't really see much. And I'm assuming that ditch where it crosses lot 1, you have your outlet. We're just talking a little wet weather ditch. Driveway culvert gets you to beside it to put a house behind it or something.
Right, and we've talked about it internally. I foresee some grading in that, on that lot to kind of push that channel either to the front,
Or
to
they
the
got you.
back, to fit
You're
in.
just working around to get around the house.
Mhm. That's not a regulated feature, so we
Yep.
can move that all day long.
Gotcha.
Any concern, you're staying away from any modifications of the dam, any concerns with the existing dam?
No concerns. I can't say there's been any study or evaluation on it, but I don't have any concerns with it. It's not on any high hazard inventory. That's one thing to look for.
The only other question I have is, ignoring the stormwater runoff, if it doesn't work, you'll be back. And that was when I was looking at the map with my magnifying glass on my laptop, it appears, I don't think this is a major issue, but it might have to be a condition. I think it was saying that the deck or something on that existing house encroaches like 20 feet or encroaches into the pond buffer.
You're right, and I can't see it either, so I'm gonna get out. I put on my glasses and now I'm gonna get my camera out.
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah, like I said, I don't think that's any showstopper, but is that something we have to show as a condition for approval of this?
Yeah.
Since it is encroaching into the pond buffer. Assuming that doesn't change and the pond doesn't shift.
Yeah, there's concept of a existing non-conforming structure, an existing non-conforming use. We don't necessarily tell people to tear something down that doesn't meet our current standards, but we
Right.
certainly wouldn't permit anything new
Right.
that violates our rules.
Okay, I didn't know, and that's mine. If it's non-conforming, it can stay non-conforming. I just didn't know if we had to recognize it with the new.
Yeah, the lot lines are new. So if, for instance, the previous house that was here, it crossed the proposed lot line, and since the lot line was new, we wouldn't be able to approve that. Any structure needs to comply with the new
Right.
lot dimensions.
Right.
But in this case, it's encroaching into effectively common open space, and
Yeah.
you know,
like I said,
things
it's not-
about water buffers. That's
It's
beyond
not, it's
zoning.
not a big issue, but I just wanted to get it out on the table to see if that's something that has to be pointed out.
And I know he mentioned house placement, but
The setbacks are on there.
yeah, I don't think that's a problem. The easement, they can reroute, like you said, and redo the drainage and move the easement, get rid of the one and have a pretty house site. I don't
You're talking about
see it.
lot 1 there?
Lot 1, 2, and 3,
Yeah.
technically, that's not really jurisdictional. They're in control of the easement. They can shape it, shift it, make it more accommodating for a house. And these are big lots, so I'm confident that they're not building the house way off the roads.
That's a stream easement, right?
It's just a storm drain easement,
Okay,
per
yeah.
some plat book and page, but they're in control of all that.
Yeah,
So
okay.
they can, as long as it's going, catching and going,
Yep.
correct? You can reshape that a little bit. I don't really see anything else.
Regarding sewer, we have made 2 submittals to Union County Water. The first one we made when we first submitted this conditional zoning plan to you guys. They gave us comments back 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. Pretty mild comments. There was a comment on the alignment on the left of the sewer on the left side of the pond. There was a comment about how Lot 6 did not have access on the original plan, did not have direct access to the sewer line. And I said, we'll just give an easement. And they said, no, we don't allow that. So I had to reconfigure that flag piece that was mentioned in the back so that we had direct access. And then they had some comments on my formatting. They told me to make the sewer green and the water blue so they could see it. So I think the comments from them were pretty minor. It's been resubmitted to them, and now I've just got to wait for them to review it.
What about our tree save and tree canopy? Do we have any tree save out here? What does the site look like?
It's a lot of pine.
And don't you be ditching on the pines again.
So don't they have to hit our tree safe?
I think this was in,
This has already been in and approved before?
that's
Or
right.
in
This has been in for a year.
a year?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I did not hear that.
Yeah, no, that's,
And
I don't think it was
have
approved.
council voted on it yet?
I don't think it was approved.
No.
I
Yes.
think it just started.
I got you. So they submitted and it's been in for a
yeah,
year.
Tree Save just went through, what?
I got you. I
3
thought
weeks
this
ago.
was,
Are
Yeah.
there plans to save trees or is it?
Can I speak to that? I'm Karen Leggett. So we're not doing any clear cutting. We're not doing any clear cutting. Arcadia will just take down trees for the footprint of the house per residential lot. So
That's great.
we have no intention of taking down any more trees that are necessary to build those homes.
You said Arcadia is the builder.
Arcadia is the exclusive builder.
I have a request on the house that you're tearing down where you let the fire department or the sheriff's office practice in it.
We've talked about that, absolutely.
I want to see that.
Hmm?
I wanna
That's a pretty
see
fun
that.
day.
It gets hot.
yeah, other than that, I'm really having a hard time picking at this.
Yeah, one last quick question. I don't want to sound like I'm picky here. You were talking on the sewer and you've met with them and they want you to make this kind of change and that kind of change is, and I'm assuming that is part of the construction connection. Have they already run, one of the things they do is they'll do a preliminary, is there enough capacity based on your houses? And
Yes, one of their comments was that they were doing a drawdown test. This sewer line that we're connecting to goes due north, or maybe it's northwest, to an existing pump station. We've always been told that they believe that there's capacity there, but they have to do the drawdown test to make sure that it is there. And so that was a comment on their first round of comments. And when I asked about the status of that recently, they said it still hadn't been done, but they would let us know. So what that means, if that drawdown test comes back and they see a problem, it's going to be up to us to, pony up a solution and probably some money to upgrade something to fix that problem.
All right. There's no more comments. Anybody want to make a motion to let these guys move forward?
I'll make a motion. I'm not sure if there's anything specific we have to point out with all of the various
Can
discussions
we-
we've had.
Have a condition for the trees, like rough, vaguely, or like no clear cutting, I guess, or is that not? I don't.
On the deal property, we were doing the attorney calls it a unique trees save.
But I think,
Isn't that right?
Yeah.
I think
Tree
deal
protection
properties-
Plan.
I think Deal Property is going to have to adhere to the tree ordinance that was passed last month. That was a condition.
A unique one to them.
Yeah,
But I just mean, like, we don't have to full blown tree protection, but
I mean, you can say in the motion that tree clearing will be restricted to the building
Envelope.
envelope. Yes, thank you. I'll take a shot at this, then people feel free to amend it.
Add in the planner's recommendation at the end, the condition. I would make sure we attach that with the sewer alignment capacity must be finalized.
Yeah, so I'll make a recommendation. I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the council with the condition of sewer alignment and capacity must be finalized before going to the council, and that tree removal be restricted to building envelope and obviously road right of ways and that stuff like that. Was that clear enough, Karen?
Good.
All right. Motion's on the floor. Do I have a second or any amendments?
I second.
I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Good luck with your project. All right, number 7 is old business. I see that we have none. Move on to update from the town planner.
Yes, Chairman. So, in summarizing the February Town Council meeting, in